Chapter 5. The Plan. The night was peaceful in Castle Black, disturbed only by a hooded figure making its way to the stables. The cloaked figure took a horse and quickly climbed over it. The cloak slipped slightly, exposing long hair as black as night and creamy skin that was shining under the moonlight. Alice breathed in the fresh air, and she could smell the freedom that she rightly yearned for, and with a sharp tug, she rode her horse forward. As the horse galloped straight out of Castle Black, she smiled in victory, but that was short-lived when her horse jerked its head and stopped all of a sudden. Before she could do anything, the horse began to run circles around a tree quite violently, making her dizzy. Finally, the horse moved forward, but it was in the opposite direction she wanted to go. The horse ran all the way back to Castle Black, and right there on the steps to one of the quarters sat Jon Snow, who was making a show of inspecting his sword. "Did you enjoy the trip?" Jon inquired, not taking his eyes off from the sword he was inspecting. "No. It was very uncomfortable," Alice answered with a huff as she slid down from the horse, which moved closer to the stables, all on its own violation. "What was the plan? Ride off into the night in this heavy snow and die of starvation, or better yet be captured by some bandits and be their amusement for the night?" Jon asked mockingly. "You got what you wanted, didn't you? My father has pulled back his army to Carhold. Now let me go back to my home," Alice demanded, to which Jon laughed mockingly. "What guarantee is there for your brother to keep his armies in Carhold if I give you up? Until I take Winterfell, you will remain a guest of the House Stark. If you prefer, I can chain you up to help with your urge to escape." "What do you say?" Jon arched an eyebrow curiously. "No need for that. I will stay as your guest," Alice grumbled and walked past Jon into her quarters. "Good, and if I see you sneaking off again, know that I will tie you to a post," Jon called after her, to which Alice replied with a "fuck you." Jon chuckled at her attitude, and he was reminded of his sister Arya. After making sure the poor horse returned back to the stables, Jon went back to his room and let sleep overtake him. The very next morning, Jon found himself in the company of Sansa with a map of North which he had managed to discover from the former quarters of Maester Aemon. They were waiting for the others to arrive, and Sansa was the one to break the silence. "I have to speak to you about something." Sansa started awkwardly, making Jon stare curiously at his sister. "What are your plans after you take Winterfell from Ramsay?" Sansa asked, making Jon's eyes widen a fraction. "After we save Rickon, we will install him as the Lord of Winterfell, and I was hoping you will be his regent until he comes of age," said Jon, but he frowned as Sansa shook her head. "What? You want Rickon to claim the position as king in the north?" Jon asked with a frown. "Gods, no. Robb was stupid enough to take that route. He could have allied himself with someone else, even if the Northerners wouldn't have liked it, but an alliance would have been really useful," said Sansa, making Jon frown harder. "Don't be so dismissive of Robb's sister. At the time, there was no clear choice to be made. Stannis had not enough men with him, and the few that joined him were fanatics. Renly had the largest army, but his claim will only come after Stannis. Even if Robb declared for Renly, it would have made an enemy out of Stannis. Even if somehow Robb managed to join Stannis, a somewhat worse fate might have befallen the north. We wouldn't know for sure," Jon explained, not at all happy that Sansa would see Robb's efforts as foolish. "True, Robb may have bungled here and there politically speaking, but he tried his best with what he had. It didn't help matters when everyone around him, from his mother to Roose Bolton, was undermining him every step of the way." "What would you have done if you were in Robb's position?" Sansa asked. "I would have traded Jaime Lannister for you and Arya. Made peace with the Lannisters, but I would have waited for the opportune moment and killed every single lion I could get my hands on. Failing that, I would have waited out in Riverrun and harried Tywin Lannister's forces all the way to King's Landing, sacrificing the Riverlands to the second Lannister host. I would have joined Stannis and rescued you no matter the cost. If all else failed, my third option would have been to take Jaime as well as any Lannister's prisoner back to the north and abandon Riverlands to the Lannisters' mercy. Tywin would have no choice but to negotiate with me for his son. In any scenario, I would have never let that squid go to Iron Islands. Rob's true mistake was trusting Theon, and that cost him the North. Jon took a deep breath to calm himself after that long-winded explanation and instead focused on the map. I would have advised Rob to take the first option, but it is irrelevant now. We can't change the past, but we have to look forward to the future. I asked you all this to know what your true plans are, Jon. I want to know whether you are going to take your true name? Sansa asked, and Jon could feel her blue eyes boring into his skull even as he focused on the map. I do intend to declare myself as Daeron Targaryen. Without that name, my claim to the Iron Throne would be flimsy at best, said Jon, but he could feel that Sansa was against that idea, and a moment later he was proven correct. I would advise you not to take that name. At least I don't think you should declare yourself as a Targaryen right after we take Winterfell, said Sansa as her eyes traced Winterfell on the map. You fear the Northern Lords being wroth with the fact that my mother married Rhaegar, and the rebellion itself was a lie. You fear they would have more reasons to hate House Stark than they already have. Jon summarized, as that was also his thought on the issue, but hearing it from Sansa made it more relevant. Not just the Northern Lords, Jon. The River Lords, as well as the Vale Lords, would also be discontent to follow you. You will have to force them to bend the knee using your dragon, and that kind of forced subjugation will give rise to more resentment. While you or I may not live to see the results of that resentment, your children will. Sansa said with a certainty that Jon didn't expect, but he had not thought that much on the issue. He was rather focused on the here and now, but this conversation was proving to be interesting. It was always good to make an informed decision, and Sansa was providing him with a venue to think things over. Then what do you suggest, Sansa? Jon asked, curious to know her opinion. Declare yourself as the son of Lyanna Stark, but hide the fact that she married Rhaegar. You said that there is proof of their marriage in the Citadel, right? Sansa asked, and Jon nodded, curious to see where she was going, as he was already getting a rough picture. Then make sure that you secure that proof and keep it just in case you need to prove your legitimacy in the future. But here and now let it be assumed that Rhaegar forced himself on Aunt Lyanna. This will allow you to take the Stark name, and with your dragon by your side, you can raise your claim for the throne. The Northern Lords will be happy that they have a Stark prince who rides a dragon, and the Southern Lords of Vale, as well as Riverlands, would not oppose your claim. A Stark on the throne will be more palatable to them than a Targaryen or a Lannister. Sansa explained with a proud smile, and Jon chuckled at the end of her explanation, which made her scowl. What? Sansa pouted angrily, which made Jon laugh. You make it sound like this is all a simple game, sister. Not all the lords would think like you expect them to. Do you really think some of these lords would care about what my name is? All they would be caring for is what they can obtain by supporting a claimant to the throne with a dragon, especially against the Lannisters, said Jon with a shake of his head. But there will be lords who care, Jon. Just think about this. They all fought to remove the Targaryens from power several decades ago. That was and is still fresh in their mind. Do you really want to become a symbol that would remind them of the futility of the rebellion? Sansa asked with a huff. When I disclose my parentage, it will already happen. No matter what, they will look at me in a different light, Sansa. Jon shrugged. Not if you lie a little bit. Sansa smirked. Lie? How? Jon asked as he furrowed his brows. You will hold a council of all the Lords of Vale, North and Riverlands separately or together if you have to, and explain some things to them. You will tell them that Ned Stark kept you hidden to keep you safe and not to cause another war because of Tywin or Robert. You will tell them that Ned Stark told you about your parentage, and you decided to take the Black to avoid the realm being plunged into a war because of you. No matter what, there will be a lot of lords that will admire you for your selfless actions, and those who are truly ambitious will also support you because they will think that you are easily manipulated, said Sansa, and Jon could see her eyes glint with excitement at the plan she was making up. Just think about this, Jon. You could subtly shift all the scrutiny that will inevitably fall on you with your honorable character, and thereby distance yourself from the Mad King's shadow. The lords will see you more as Ned Stark's son. Those who knew him will be very much reminded of him, especially the Vale lords." By this point, Jon wondered how Sansa was still holding on to her seat rather than jumping up and down with her brilliant plan. He could see that she was moments away from doing so. And where were these lords who admire Eddard Stark that much when he was beheaded in King's Landing? They were all safely cowering behind their castles and mountains. The only ones that suffered the loss would be our family Sansa. Everyone would say their condolences, but that's it. No one cared enough to go for war other than the Northern Lords. I am sure if the Lannisters hadn't burned Riverlands, then a majority of the River Lords would have also stayed neutral at best. But I will take your suggestion into consideration. It's a good plan you have. I just don't know whether all this subterfuge will be necessary or even needed in the long run," said Jon with a shrug, and the room descended into a comfortable silence. "In case you decide to go with my plan, you will need a new sigil. It will be terribly confusing to use the direwolf sigil when you are riding a dragon, even if you have Ghost. So I stitched one myself." Sansa handed him a folded black cloth, but before he could open it there was a knock on the door. He immediately put the cloth away by the leg of his chair and faced the door. Not a moment later, Lady Brienne, Tormund, Ed Tolet, Davos and Melisandre walked into the room. "Sir Davos, Lady Melisandre, I assume your visit to the Eastwatch yielded some results," Jon stated, and the nod from the Red Priestess confirmed his guess. 30 ships will be ready to sail as soon as the men can board it. The only problem will be the necessary supplies. Stannis had taken much of the supplies with him for the northern campaign. Davos explained, "We no longer have to worry about that, Sir Davos. While you were gone, Jon and the Free Folk took Last Hearth and Carhold from the Umbers and Karstarks. Both of those houses have declared for House Bolton, but Jon took Ned Umber and Alice Karstark as hostages along with an entire caravan of food, medicine and weapons. For the time being, we are in a stronger position," said Sansa happily, and Jon nodded to Davos, confirming the news. "You have been busy," Davos observed. "While you were securing our transportation, we had to do something, Sir Davos. Besides, I have already got word that the Karstarks have abandoned the Boltons, and soon the Umbers will get the little present that I send their way. While I doubt small Jon Umber will abandon Ramsay Bolton's side, all of a sudden there will be dissent among their ranks, and we will utilize them," said Jon, who knew how stubborn the Umber was, seeing as he has been keeping a close eye on Winterfell. The abandonment of Karstarks have put Ramsay on high alert, and he will be keeping a close eye on the Umbers. Jon's message had yet to reach Winterfell, but when it does, there was bound to be some cracks in the unlikely alliance between an Umber and a Bolton. "So what will be our plan of attack?" Brienne asked, speaking up for the first time. "Ramsay wants us to march through the snows to reach Winterfell. He is a good hunter, and he will use the same tactic he used against King Stannis, especially now that he has lost one major ally. We won't give him that chance, and instead, we use the fleet in Eastwatch to ferry the Free Folk warriors all the way to Ramsgate. From there we can access the Broken Branch. But instead of making way for Winterfell, we take a small detour to Hornwood and join forces with Lawrence Snow," said Jon as he moved a carved wooden wolf to Hornwood beside the bull moose of House Hornwood. "Who is Lawrence Snow?" Sansa asked curiously. "Lawrence Snow is the natural son of Lord Halys Hornwood. Seeing as Lord Hornwood and his heir died fighting in the south, he is the next candidate for the seat of Hornwood. At the same time, 500 men from House Glover will join us, as will the 200 sworn to House Hornwood. House Manderley has also pledged their support with 1,000 men," said Jon as he handed over 2 scrolls of parchment to Sansa. Both of them had the seal of House Glover and House Manderley. "That would put our army at 3,700 if House Glover and Manderley are to be trusted," said Sansa, not daring to completely trust the professed loyalty until she saw these words in action. "The Glovers would love Lawrence to take the Hornwood name, as he has fostered in their halls, and they consider him one of their own. I suspect the Manderleys are also supporting Lawrence by coming to a marriage alliance. Winifred Manderley would wed Lawrence, and together they would take the seat of Hornwood. There is also the fact that Manderleys are itching to take revenge against Ramsay, as he raped and made Lady Hornwood starve to death. John explained Lady Hornwood was a Manderley, wasn't she? Sansa asked, suddenly remembering her lessons from her mother, which felt like a lifetime ago. Yes, sister. She was Lord Wyman's cousin. There is also one more news, but this is not confirmed as of now, nor is it relevant. But Midge Mormont and her second daughter Alysanne Mormont have survived the Red Wedding and has taken refuge in Greywater Watch. John revealed, you remember what Lyanna Mormont wrote to King Stannis when he asked for the northern houses to ride with him? Davos asked, looking at John. She said, "We know no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark." Said John with a chuckle, "We will make contact with Lord Reed, but that is not the only news from the Neck." John looked at Sansa. The Vale army is also in the process of crossing the Twins, but with Baelish as our prisoner, they will most likely stay in Moat Cailin waiting for that swine. They will be waiting quite long for that to happen. Sansa said with a scowl, "My lady, wouldn't the Vale army fight for you if you ask?" Brienne asked, "Fight for me?" "Even if they agreed to, I wouldn't ask them. They are at the moment not trustworthy," said Sansa, while John put a falcon piece on Moat Cailin. From questioning Baelish, he contacted Cersei and let her know about Sansa. While I doubt the Vale lords know what Baelish was up to, he had moved the Vale forces to the north for taking out the Boltons. We won't be depending on the Vale forces, but rather the forces that are formed from the first men. House Bolton has lived its time under the sun, but now it is time to permanently close that chapter. I will finish what the Winter Kings of old refused to do. We sailed for Ramsgate as soon as we can move our forces to East Watch. John dismissed the meeting, and after everyone had left the room, he took out the piece of cloth Sansa handed him over. As he included the material, he started into the neatly stitched form of a three-headed blue dragon in a black field. He had to say it looked downright badass, and he vowed he would give his sister some present. But knowing her, only one present would satisfy her, and that would be Ramsay's head. But he had plans for Ramsay, big plans. That bastard will die, but it will never be a quick death. Ramsay will suffer like none before. John really hated rapists, and he will make a statement using Ramsay so that the whole of Westeros will know what he will do to those who hurt his family. Euron couldn't help himself, and he smiled in glee at the fact that he killed his brother. While he generally found great pleasure in the suffering of others, he had to admit he felt a great amount of satisfaction when he threw his brother over the bridge. He has always felt that Balon was a true cunt among all his siblings. The guy was a winner who whines about Ironborn and the old ways a little too much for his liking. Truly, what had the famed Reaver of Pike ever done? When the Seven Kingdoms were fighting against the Mad King, their father had kept the Ironborn out of the fight. Finally, when their father had grown a spine and decided to attack the Reach, it was Euron and Victarion that plundered the Greenlanders for valuables. All Balon brought was some dead Greenlanders and useless trinkets. When their father fell in the Reach, Balon ascended as the Lord of Pike. The only sensible thing that he had seen his brother do was to declare independence from the Iron Throne. That was something Euron could respect, because it took courage to say fuck off to the rest of Westeros. But that respect was short-lived when Euron truly learned the grand strategy of his elder brother. Instead of striking at the Lannister fleet and Redwyne fleet, the fool wanted to raid and reeve across the Riverlands and then go halfway around the continent to burn the royal fleet. When Balon put forth that plan, it took a great amount of self-restraint to not kill the fool there itself. It took him and some other like-minded lords of Iron Islands to tweak the brilliant plan of his brother. The new plan, which was not entirely Euron's, at least managed to deal a crippling blow to the Lannister fleet. Euron himself led the Iron Fleet and scored a glorious victory in Lannisport. Again his foolish brother stepped in and mucked things up. The fool wanted to hold on to Lannisport indefinitely, while Euron was of the opinion to take what they need and burn the rest to the ground. It would have allowed the Iron Fleet to deal with the Redwyne fleet. Instead, Balon ordered the Ironborn to reeve all across the west coast of Westeros. It spread the Ironborn all over the coasts of Riverlands, Reach, Westerlands, and even Dorne. In the end, just as he predicted, the Ironborn were smashed by the combined Royal Fleet and Redwyne Fleet. To celebrate his brother's foolishness, Euron took Victarion's wife to his bed. That led to his exile from the shitty island that was filled with shitty people. Free from any morons, he sailed the 14 seas and reaved every land or ship to his heart's content. It was truly exhilarating to have no chains, to be bound to anything and do what he wanted. For years he terrorized the seas from Old Town to Karth. Rather be known as a Greyjoy, he earned his name as Euron Crow's Eye. But it has always been his intention to one day return to the Iron Islands and take the Salt Throne for himself. There are those who still supported him among the Ironborn, and he has been kept informed of what transpired in the Iron Islands. When he had heard that his brother had launched a full-scale invasion into the north, he couldn't stop laughing. He knew right then that his time was coming, because only a fool would launch an invasion against the north. The Ironborn were reavers, but the north had nothing they would need except for some timber and salt wives. The cold lands north of the Neck was a wasteland, and Balon was proving to be a bigger fool when the north itself was rebelling against the Iron Throne. It should have been the perfect opportunity to reave the south of Westeros. Instead, the fool weakened himself and the Ironborn in a quest for a few pebbles of stone and ice. It was the perfect time for his return, as his contacts among the Ironborn have been informing him of growing discontent against his brother. Now that he has killed Balon, the only remaining obstacle before him was his dear niece Yara. He didn't consider his cockless nephew a threat, or even worth mentioning in his thoughts. Right now he was standing far back among the group of lords of Iron Islands as the King's Smoot was about to commence. His younger brother, Aeron, was the one conducting the King's Smoot, and he wasn't surprised, seeing as the fool was a useless priest. At least, that cut down his competition, as Victorian was already dead courtesy of the Boltons. The King's Smoot now begins, and with the sea as witness, let the drowned god bless us with a worthy king. Aeron declared, and waited for anyone to make the claim. Euron watched from the sidelines with an amused smirk as his niece stepped forward. I am Yara Greyjoy, daughter of Balon Greyjoy, the King of Iron Islands. I claim the Salt Throne as it is my blood right, and I will lead the Ironborn across the seas to teach the lords of Westeros to fear us. We will reave across the southern Westeros and take all their riches for ourselves. Yara proclaimed, which was met with some enthusiasm from the lords of Iron Islands. But like he suspected, not all were happy with the woman at the helm, which was evident when Lord Drum stepped forward and protested. You have no right to lead us, girl. While Balon may have entertained your ambitions too much, no woman has ever led the Ironborn and never will. Your place is in the bed of a strong Ironborn. Lord Drum declared, and there was a smarter of chuckles and eyes from the lords, but Lord Drum was not finished. There is a true-born male heir left of Balon standing right there. The laws of succession are clear, and a male heir comes before any female ones. Lord Drum pointed at Theon, who was trying and failing to look strong, as all the attention shifted to Euron's nephew. Euron had not seen the boy for long years, and looking at him now, he had to say the boy was weak. While Balon was a fool, he at least projected some strength, but this one just oozed weakness. His lips curled in a sneer as the cowering boy stepped into the middle and addressed the Ironborn. When he became king, his first act was going to kill this cockless coward. He hated the weak, especially when they are related to him by blood. I support Yara because she has been here all her life. She sailed into the seas with the Ironborn, reaved with the Ironborn, reaped glory for the Ironborn. She is Ironborn. Theon declared, and a lot of men yelled in support, and Euron could see a small smile on his niece's face. He would be delighted to put that smile off her face, and with that happy thought he stepped forward. I claim the Salt Throne, Euron declared, and as he stepped into the open amongst his fellow Ironborn, it felt good when some of them even nodded at him in respect and moved a few paces back. It felt good to be acknowledged, but he was not surprised. It was only natural for the weak to admire the strong. When did you return, uncle? Yara asked, and he gave his dear niece a knowing smile. a few days ago. I had some matters that I had to deal with which was long overdue. Euron smirked. It's good that you are here, uncle. Now I know what my first act as queen will be, to kill the man who killed my king, my father. Yara glared at him, but Euron merely smiled. I admit it. I killed him. I threw him right over the bridge and watched on as he plummeted into the rocks. He was leading us nowhere. He led us into 2 disastrous wars which many of you know lost solely because of that moron. Nobody here loved him, and I regret that I didn't kill him a lot early. For that, I apologize, Euron said with a flourish, and he could see that the lords were in full agreement. Where were you, uncle? You were not here all these years, but Yara was. She was here amongst the Ironborn and leading them, fighting our enemies while you were gallivanting across the world, said Theon, cutting off the applause the Euron was enjoying. Gallivanting? Is that how men speak when their cocks are cut off? Euron goaded, and there was an uproar of laughter, so he continued to attack the cockless coward with more words. Is that what the lords of Westeros taught you when you were the bitch of the Boltons? I heard stories, you know. Is it true that the Boltons bastard fucked you in the cold northern nights? Euron mockingly asked, and the Ironborn laughed again, especially as Theon cowered in shame. Is it true that you served the Bolton's bastard as his cupbearer? Did they make you till the fields, you cockless coward? Euron asked with a crazed look now as Theon began to shrink into himself, and the Ironborn were now angrily yelling and insulting Theon, but Euron was not done. I heard you were broken by the Bolton's bastard. What was your name again? Was it Reek? Are you Reek, boy? Did your master send you here, Reek? Is little Reek crying now? Euron couldn't have done it any better, because the weak fool that was his nephew was now sobbing. Look at this thing. This is not how Ironborn behaves. He is crying like a little girl that lost her maidenhead. Is that why you are following your sister? Euron asked, and now he knew that he has won. The Ironborn around him were jeering and laughing at his niece and nephew. Since when did Ironborn cry? Euron asked loudly. Never. They answered in one sound. Since when did the Ironborn cower? Never. Since when did we sow? Never. We are Ironborn, and I am a Greyjoy. I do not sow. We do not sow. Euron screamed in a frenzy, and that same frenzy was reciprocated by the Ironborn. I will build the greatest armada the world has ever seen. I have traveled in the 14 seas, and I will take the Iron Fleet into the 14 seas to reap glory. There is someone in the east that hates the lords of Westeros as much as we do, and she has 3 large dragons with no husband. I will gift her the Iron Fleet and my big fat cock. Together we will take the 7 kingdoms and more. Now, who is with me? Euron screamed, and the Ironborn screamed with him, entranced by the glory and riches that they will be reaping in the future. Euron! 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 The chanting continued to make traction, and soon everyone was chanting and hailing him as king. Euron smirked at his weak nephew and his equally foolish niece. His time to rule has finally come, and there was nothing Balan's spawns could do. As he was being drowned by Aeron for the ceremony of his crowning, Yara and Theon escaped with some ships from the Iron Fleet. While the number of ships that joined them was just over 70, that still left a significant loss. But that was a loss that could be recovered in time, and Euron will make sure of that. Besides, the Iron Fleet was not his only weapon in his arsenal. The dragon horn he took from the Shadowbinders of Ass High was still safe in his ship. He will be the first king of the Iron Islands that would be riding a dragon, and with a dragon and a dragon queen he will conquer the world. When he was presented with the crown, he declared that much before marching to Pike. It was time to deliver on his promise of an armada, and then the seas will be his to command.